Billionaire family mocked the 7-year-old paralyzed girl at the gala. Then she cancelled the $1 billion deal, leaving them all pale. Let us know your city or country in the comments. And if this story moves you, like and subscribe to support us. The screams of laughter echoed across the elegant marble floors of the Diamond Crown, Boston's most exclusive restaurant. 7-year-old Lily Morgan sat quietly in her wheelchair at the corner table, her small hands folded in her lap, trying to make herself invisible as the group of adults at the central table roared with another cruel joke. Did you see her trying to reach for the menu? Maxwell Richardson, heir to the Richardson real estate empire, snickered to his associates, like a little broken bird flapping one wing. He mimicked the movement, eliciting howls from his entourage. Lily's caretaker, Martha, squeezed her shoulder gently. Don't listen to them, sweetheart. Some people have money, but no class. But Lily heard everything. Her legs might not work properly since the accident 2 years ago, but her ears and mind worked perfectly. She recognized Maxwell Richardson from the business magazines her father used to read. The Richardson family was negotiating to buy the Diamond Crown, her father's restaurant, among other properties in their latest expansion. "Should we go, Lily?" Martha whispered, her kind eyes filled with concern. Lily shook her head, her honey-brown curls bouncing slightly. "No, Daddy loved this place. I want to stay." 3 tables away, Diane Richardson, Maxwell's wife, raised her champagne glass. "To the newest addition to our portfolio. By next week, this quaint little establishment will be gutted and transformed into something actually worth our clientele's time." The maitre d', Thomas, who had worked for Lily's father for 15 years, approached their table with strained professionalism. "Mr. Richardson, the kitchen has prepared your special requests." "Finally!" Maxwell boomed, checking his diamond-encrusted watch. "In our establishments, the service will be considerably more efficient." Thomas nodded stiffly, then glanced toward Lily with sadness. Everyone on staff knew who she was, but had been instructed not to make a fuss. That had been Martha's request. Let the little girl enjoy a quiet dinner in her father's favorite place without drawing attention to her status. "Can you believe the owners let that disabled child in here?" Diane stage whispered, not bothering to lower her voice enough. "It's bringing down the whole atmosphere. People like that should eat at home." Lily felt her cheeks burn, but her eyes remained dry. She'd cried enough in the past 2 years, when the car crash took both her parents and her ability to walk, when she'd moved in with her godmother while the lawyers sorted everything out, when she'd overheard the discussions about her father's businesses and what would happen to them. "Martha," Lily said quietly, "may I have my phone, please?" Martha hesitated. "Your godmother said no business during dinner, remember?" Lily's small face grew serious in a way no 7-year-olds should. "It's important." Reluctantly, Martha handed over the specially designed phone. Lily's fingers moved deftly across the screen, navigating through security measures that would have impressed a tech executive. She sent a simple message. "Cancel the Richardson deal. Immediately." Martha's eyes widened. "Lily, are you sure? Your godmother and the board spent months—" "I'm sure," Lily replied, her voice steady despite her age. "Daddy always said we don't do business with bullies." Across the restaurant, Maxwell Richardson's phone chimed. His smug expression melted into confusion, then shock, then fury. "What the hell is this?" he bellowed, standing so abruptly his chair crashed to the floor. "The deal is off. Who authorized this? Who—" His associates murmured in confusion, while Diane grabbed the phone from his hand, her perfectly manicured nails clicking against the screen. "It says the current owner has declined to proceed with the acquisition," she read aloud, voice shaking. "But we were told the owner was desperate to sell after that Morgan fool died in the accident." The restaurant had gone silent. Lily motioned for Martha to wheel her toward the Richardson table. "Excuse me?" the little girl said, her voice clear and strong despite its childish pitch. "I believe you're talking about my daddy, William Morgan, and I'm not desperate to sell anything." Maxwell's face contorted in disbelief as he looked down at the child in the wheelchair. "What is this? Some kind of joke?" Thomas, the maitre d', stepped forward, unable to hide his smile. "Mr. Richardson, may I introduce Miss Lily Morgan, majority shareholder of Morgan Hospitality Group, which owns the Diamond Crown and 14 other premier establishments across New England." "That's impossible," Diane hissed. "She's a child." "A child with a very capable board of trustees who answer to her," Martha added, standing protectively beside Lily's wheelchair, "and who just saved $1 billion by not selling to people who mock disabled children." The Richardson family attorney, Harold Bennett, paced the length of his opulent corner office in downtown Boston, his Italian leather shoes wearing an invisible path in the plush carpet. Across from him, Maxwell Richardson slouched in a leather armchair, nursing his third scotch despite it being only 10 a.m. "You mocked a disabled child," Harold stated flatly. "Not just any disabled child, but Lily Morgan, the sole heir to William Morgan's fortune." "How was I supposed to know who she was?" Maxwell snapped, ice cubes clinking as he gestured wildly. "She was just sitting there in that pathetic little wheelchair with some nanny." Harold pinched the bridge of his nose. William Morgan was one of the most private billionaires in America. After the accident that killed him and his wife and left their daughter paralyzed, the board has been ferociously protective of Lily. They keep her out of the public eye intentionally. "Well, they should put a sign on her or something," Diane Richardson huffed from the other chair, scrolling through her phone. "Oh God, it's already on social media. Someone recorded everything at the restaurant." Harold's assistant knocked and entered without waiting, her expression grave. "Sir, Morgan Hospitality Group just issued a press release. They're not only cancelling the deal with Richardson Enterprises, but announcing an expansion that directly competes with the Richardson hotel chain." Maxwell slammed his glass down. "They can't do that. We've spent millions on this acquisition." "They can, and they are," Harold replied, taking the tablet his assistant offered. "And there's more. It seems that Lily Morgan's godmother is Catherine Chen. The tech mogul." Diane's perfectly sculpted eyebrows shot up. "The one who developed that reservation system everyone uses?" Harold nodded grimly. "The very same. And according to this, Catherine has been appointed Lily's legal guardian and will be overseeing her business interests until she comes of age." Maxwell paled. "Catherine Chen hates me. We were both after the same property in Nantucket last year, and I may have made some comments about women in business." "Wonderful," Harold muttered. "So you've managed to insult both a disabled child billionaire and her godmother, who happens to be one of the most powerful women in tech. Is there anyone else you'd like to alienate today? Perhaps the Pope?" Diane's phone buzzed again. Her face crumpled as she read the notification. "Our stock is already down 8%. The video is trending." In the Morgan penthouse across town, Lily sat by the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Boston Harbor. Her wheelchair had been custom-designed to give her both mobility and dignity, with controls she could manage herself despite her limited leg function. Catherine Chen entered the room, her sharp business attire contrasting with the gentle way she knelt beside Lily's chair. At 42, Catherine had built her tech empire from scratch, but nothing in her career had prepared her for suddenly becoming the guardian to her best friend's daughter after their tragic accident. "The board approved all your decisions," Catherine said softly, "though I think a few of them were surprised by your business instincts." Lily's small face remained solemn. "Daddy always took me to meetings. He said I should learn everything, even if people thought I was just drawing in the corner." Catherine smiled, remembering how William would bring his quiet, observant daughter to casual business dinners. Most people assumed she was absorbed in her coloring books, not listening to every word of complex negotiations. The Richardsons are scrambling, Catherine continued. Their PR team is working overtime, trying to minimize the damage. Lily looked down at her uncooperative legs. They thought because I can't walk that I can't think. A mistake they won't make again, Catherine assured her, gently tucking a strand of hair behind Lily's ear. But Lily, are you sure about the expansion plan? It's aggressive, even by your father's standards. The Richardsons hurt people, not just me, Lily replied with a wisdom beyond her years. Daddy kept a file on them. They've pushed out small businesses and treated their workers badly. He was only considering selling to them because... Her voice caught. Because of the medical expenses, Catherine finished quietly. The accident had left Lily with extensive needs. William and Elizabeth Morgan had been financially secure, but the specialized treatments Lily required had strained even their considerable resources. I don't need the treatments anymore, Lily said firmly. The doctors said they probably won't help much anyway. Catherine felt her heart breaking. Lily, that's not why we're cancelling the deal. Your health comes first, always. I know, Lily nodded, but now we can use the money to help other kids like me instead, and to show the Richardsons that being mean doesn't pay. Outside the penthouse, a spring storm was brewing over Boston Harbor, dark clouds gathering on the horizon. Similarly, across town, Maxwell Richardson was unleashing a tempest of his own, firing subordinates and threatening lawsuits, unaware that his worst nightmare was yet to come. 3 days after the incident at the Diamond Crown, Maxwell Richardson stormed into his company's gleaming headquarters, his face flushed with a dangerous combination of rage and fear. The lobby fell silent as he passed, employees suddenly finding intense interest in their computer screens or smartphones. "Tell me this is a sick joke," he growled at his executive assistant, throwing a newspaper onto her desk. The headline read, "Morgan Hospitality acquires controlling interest in Richardson Hotels." His assistant Bethany, who had weathered 12 years of Maxwell's temper, merely adjusted her glasses. "I've arranged an emergency board meeting for 9 a.m. Your brother is already here." Maxwell's younger brother, James Richardson, was waiting in the conference room, looking considerably more composed despite the crisis. At 38, 5 years Maxwell's junior, James had always been the level-headed counterpart to his brother's volatility. "How the hell did this happen?" Maxwell demanded, slamming the door behind him. James sighed, sliding a folder across the polished table. "Several of our minority shareholders sold their stakes yesterday, quietly through different brokers, but all to the same shell company. By the time anyone connected the dots, Morgan Hospitality Group had acquired 28% of our shares. That's not a controlling interest," Maxwell retorted, though his voice lacked conviction. "It is when combined with the 24% already owned by Eastern Investments," James replied grimly. Maxwell collapsed into a chair. "Catherine Chen's investment firm." "Precisely. Together, they now control 52% of Richardson Enterprises." The door opened again, admitting Harold Bennett and the rest of the board members. Their expressions ranged from concern to barely concealed panic. "The Morgan-Chen Alliance has called for an emergency shareholders meeting this afternoon," Harold announced, without preamble. "They're requesting changes to the board composition." "They're staging a coup," Maxwell spat. Harold adjusted his tie uncomfortably. "Technically, they're exercising their rights as majority shareholders." "Because of a child in a wheelchair?" Maxwell's voice rose dangerously. "This is absurd. We'll fight it in court." James shook his head. "Every transaction was legal. We've had 3 separate legal teams review the paperwork. It's ironclad." A tense silence fell over the room, broken only when Maxwell's phone buzzed with a notification. His face drained of color as he read it. "They're requesting my resignation as CEO, effective immediately." Across town, Catherine Chen sat in a spacious conference room with the Morgan Hospitality Group's board of directors. Beside her, Lily sat in her wheelchair, wearing a navy blue dress that made her look both adorable and oddly professional. "Are you sure you want to attend the Richardson shareholder meeting?" Catherine asked Lily gently. "It could get unpleasant." Lily nodded, her small jaw set with determination. "Daddy said you should always look people in the eye when you make big decisions that affect them." Robert Galloway, the silver-haired CFO who had served William Morgan for 20 years, exchanged glances with Catherine. "Perhaps we should prepare Miss Lily for what to expect," he suggested. "Mr. Richardson is not known for his composure." "I know," Lily said simply. "I've watched videos of him yelling at people. That's why we need to change how his company works." The board members tried to hide their surprise. They had agreed to this plan largely to honor William's memory and to protect his daughter's inheritance. Few had expected the child herself to take such an active interest or to display such understanding. "The Richardson Company has 3 hotels where workers filed complaints," Lily continued, looking down at the tablet in her lap. "And they tore down a homeless shelter in Chicago to build a new hotel." Catherine couldn't suppress a smile. "You've been doing research?" Lily nodded solemnly. "On the special computer you gave me. I can't let them hurt more people." Robert cleared his throat, clearly moved. "Miss Lily, your father would be very proud of you today." For the first time that morning, Lily's serious expression softened. "Really?" "Without question," Catherine affirmed, squeezing the girl's small hand. "Now shall we review our proposal for the Richardson board one more time?" As they went through the details, Catherine marveled at how quickly Lily grasped complex business concepts. While she didn't understand all the financial terminology, she had an intuitive sense of fairness and consequences that many adult executives lacked. Meanwhile, at Richardson Enterprises, the emergency board meeting had devolved into chaos. Maxwell had overturned a chair and was now threatening legal action against everyone, from his own board members to the Securities and Exchange Commission. "Maxwell, please," James implored, standing between his brother and the door. "You're making this worse. If you go into that shareholder meeting like this, you'll only confirm their worst suspicions about your leadership." "Their worst suspicions?" Maxwell mimicked bitterly. "So you're taking their side now?" James rubbed his temples. "I'm trying to salvage what's left of our family's company. If we approach this reasonably, perhaps we can negotiate." "Negotiate with a child," Maxwell barked, a harsh laugh. "This is Catherine Chen's doing. She's using that wheelchair-bound brat as a puppet to take us down." Harold Bennett, who had been quietly taking notes, looked up sharply. "I would strongly advise against expressing that sentiment at the shareholders' meeting. The public relations damage is already severe." Maxwell's phone buzzed again. As he read the message, the blood drained from his face for the second time that day. "What now?" James asked, dreading the answer. Maxwell's voice was barely audible. "They're bringing her to the meeting, the Morgan girl. She'll be there in person." The Richardson Enterprises boardroom had never felt so charged with tension. On one side sat the existing board members, including a visibly seething Maxwell Richardson and his more composed brother James. On the other side sat Catherine Chen, flanked by Morgan Hospitality Group executives and attorneys. And at the center of it all, positioned at the head of the table, was 7-year-old Lily Morgan in her specialized wheelchair, her small face solemn but determined. The company secretary called the emergency shareholders meeting to order, his voice slightly unsteady as he acknowledged the unusual circumstances. Catherine had insisted that proper corporate protocol be followed to the letter, ensuring that everything they did was unimpeachably legal. "As the first order of business," the secretary announced, "the majority shareholders have proposed a restructuring of the board of directors." Maxwell could contain himself no longer. This is ridiculous. You can't possibly allow a child to dictate the future of a billion-dollar company. Catherine's response was measured. Miss Lily Morgan is not dictating anything, Mr. Richardson. She is the majority shareholder of Morgan Hospitality Group, which, combined with my firm's holdings, now controls Richardson Enterprises. We are exercising our legal rights. Legal rights? Maxwell scoffed. She's 7 years old. She can't even tie her own shoes. A hush fell over the room at this cruel reference to Lily's disability. Even James Richardson closed his eyes in dismay at his brother's tactlessness. Actually, Lily's small voice broke the silence, I can tie my shoes. I learned a special way after the accident. Her clear brown eyes met Maxwell's directly. But that doesn't have anything to do with business decisions. Catherine suppressed a smile as she observed several board members' expressions softening at Lily's dignified response. The secretary cleared his throat. The proposal before us is to remove Maxwell Richardson as CEO and board chairman, to be replaced by James Richardson as interim CEO, with Catherine Chen joining the board as chairperson. Maxwell slammed his fist on the table. This is corporate theft. My family built this company from nothing. Your grandfather built this company, corrected Robert Galloway from the Morgan team. And according to our research, he built it on principles of community investment and ethical business practices, principles that have been abandoned under current leadership. James Richardson, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. What exactly are your intentions for Richardson Enterprises? Catherine nodded respectfully at the question. We don't intend to dismantle what your grandfather built, Mr. Richardson. We intend to restore it. The Morgan-Chen Alliance believes this company can be profitable while also being ethical. And what does a child know about ethics in business? Maxwell sneered, gesturing dismissively toward Lily. Lily straightened in her wheelchair. I know it's wrong to make fun of people who are different. I know it's wrong to tear down homes for people who have nowhere else to go. And I know my daddy wouldn't want his money to help people who do those things. Several board members exchanged glances, visibly moved by the child's simple but powerful statement of principles. The vote, when it came, was decisive. With the Morgan-Chen Alliance controlling 52% of shares and 3 independent board members swayed to their side, Maxwell Richardson was removed as CEO by a comfortable margin. As the meeting concluded, Maxwell stormed toward the exit, pausing only to lean down and hiss at Lily, You have no idea what you've done, little girl. This isn't over. Catherine stepped protectively closer to Lily, but the child seemed unfazed. I hope you'll come work with us, Mr. Richardson, she said clearly. My daddy always said everyone deserves a second chance. Maxwell's face contorted with rage, but before he could respond, his brother James intervened, physically steering him from the room. In the hallway outside, James confronted his brother. This is rock bottom, Max. You've been spiraling for years, but this, threatening a disabled child after publicly humiliating her, this is beyond redemption. So you're taking their side? Maxwell snarled. My own brother. James sighed heavily. I'm accepting reality. And the reality is, they've outmaneuvered us because you couldn't resist being cruel to a little girl in a wheelchair. Our grandfather would be ashamed. Inside the boardroom, the remaining directors were introducing themselves to Lily, many clearly charmed by the child's serious demeanor and thoughtful responses. Miss Morgan, one elderly board member said, kneeling to reach her eye level, I knew your father. He was a man of integrity. I see he passed that quality to you. Lily's solemn expression brightened momentarily. You knew my daddy? I did indeed. We served on a charitable foundation together. The man glanced at Catherine. I believe I can speak for several of us when I say we look forward to this new direction. Catherine squeezed Lily's shoulder gently. Shall we share our initial proposals for company restructuring? Lily nodded, pressing a button on her tablet. The room's main screen illuminated with a surprisingly professional presentation titled Richardson Enterprises, Restoration and Growth. The remaining board members straightened in their seats, many unable to hide their surprise at the comprehensiveness of the plan. It outlined significant changes, including improved worker conditions, community investment requirements for new developments, and an innovative profit-sharing model. "This is ambitious," commented the company's CFO cautiously. "But not impossible," Catherine countered. "Our financial projections indicate that these changes will actually improve long-term profitability by reducing turnover, enhancing community goodwill, and creating sustainable business practices." Flee. As the presentation continued, Lily occasionally chimed in with simple but insightful comments that reflected her understanding of the human impact of business decisions. It became increasingly clear to everyone present that while Catherine Chen provided the business expertise, the moral compass guiding these changes belonged to Lily Morgan. Meanwhile, in his penthouse apartment, Maxwell Richardson poured himself another drink and began plotting his revenge against the child who had humiliated him. He was too blinded by rage to notice that his access cards to the company building had already been deactivated, or that his company email had been suspended. The Richardson empire had a new direction, and for the first time in decades, it was one that its founder might have approved of. "Miss Lily, you have visitors," announced Martha, wheeling Lily's chair toward the sunlit sitting room of the Morgan penthouse. Lily looked up from her tablet where she'd been reviewing simplified reports Catherine had prepared for her. It had been 2 weeks since the Richardson Enterprises takeover, and Catherine had been carefully balancing Lily's involvement with protecting her childhood. James Richardson stood in the doorway looking uncomfortable but determined. Beside him was a woman Lily didn't recognize, tall, with kind eyes and a hesitant smile. "Hello, Miss Morgan," James said formally, then catching himself added, "Hello, Lily. Thank you for agreeing to see us." Lily nodded solemnly. "You can sit down if you want." Catherine entered from her home office, her expression cautiously neutral. "James, I didn't expect you personally for this meeting. I felt it was important," he replied, taking a seat across from Lily. "This is Dr. Angela Winters. She runs the Richardson Foundation, or what's left of it." Dr. Winters smiled warmly at Lily. "It's very nice to meet you, Lily. I've heard a lot about you." "The foundation was my grandfather's favorite project," James explained. "It funded medical research, particularly focusing on childhood mobility issues and paralysis treatment, but in recent years Maxwell redirected most of its funding." Catherine's eyebrow arched. Redirected? And of vanity projects and galas that did more for the Richardson social calendar than for actual patients. Dr. Winters clarified, her disapproval evident. "The foundation is down to its last 6 months of operating funds." Lily tilted her head, studying both visitors. "Why are you telling me this?" James leaned forward, his expression earnest. "Because I think there's an opportunity here for healing on multiple fronts. The foundation's original mission aligns perfectly with your personal experience, and you want Morgan money to save it," Catherine finished bluntly. James winced, but nodded. "I understand your skepticism, but this isn't about the Richardson name or reputation. It's about the patients and families who depend on the research." Dr. Winters opened her tablet and turned it toward Lily. "These are some of the children we've helped. This is Marcus. He regained partial mobility in his legs after participating in our neural interface trial. And this is Sophia, who received one of our adaptive technology grants for her school." Lily studied the photos intently. Children like her, some in wheelchairs, others with walkers or braces, all smiling proudly at their achievements. "I have a proposal," James continued. "Rename it the Morgan Richardson Foundation. I'll contribute my personal shares in the company, about 8% that Maxwell doesn't know about, directly to the Foundation's endowment. In return, I ask for a seat on the Foundation board and the opportunity to fulfill my grandfather's original vision. Catherine's expression remained skeptical. And your brother, where does he stand on this? James's face hardened. Maxwell is no longer my concern. He refused the position we offered him in the restructured company. He's currently in the Maldives on his yacht, drinking himself into oblivion and threatening lawsuits against everyone from you to his childhood piano teacher. He's very angry, Lily observed quietly. Yes, James agreed, his expression softening as he addressed the child. But that's not your problem, Lily. My brother has been angry for a long time. This situation just forced him to face consequences for once. Catherine and Lily exchanged a look, a silent communication that had developed between them over the past months of guardianship. We'll consider your proposal, Catherine said finally. Send over the Foundation's complete financial records and research portfolio for review. After James and Dr. Winters left, Catherine sat beside Lily's wheelchair. What are you thinking, sweetheart? Lily's small fingers traced patterns on her unresponsive knees. The doctors told Mommy and Daddy that I might never walk again. It made them very sad. Catherine felt her throat tighten. They loved you so much, Lily, walking or not. I know, Lily nodded, but they wanted to try everything to help me. That's why Daddy was going to sell the restaurants. Catherine took Lily's hand. Your health was more important to him than any business. If the Foundation helps kids like me, Lily said slowly, then maybe we should help it, not because of the Richardson name, but because of what it does. Catherine smiled, continually amazed by the child's capacity for empathy, despite her own trauma. That's very generous thinking, Lily. We'll have our team review everything carefully before making any decisions. Later that evening, as Catherine was tucking Lily into bed, the child asked a question that caught her off guard. Was I wrong to take Mr. Richardson's company? Catherine sat on the edge of the bed, considering how to answer. You didn't take it, Lily. You and I became majority shareholders through legal means, and the reason we did it wasn't revenge. It was to stop harmful business practices and create something better. But Mr. Richardson is sad and angry now, Lily persisted. Sometimes, Catherine said carefully, people need to face consequences to learn and grow. Maxwell Richardson hurt many people with his decisions. Now he has the opportunity to reflect and perhaps become a better person. Lily seemed to consider this. Like when you take away my tablet time when I don't finish my schoolwork. Catherine laughed softly. Something like that, yes, though on a much bigger scale. As she turned out the light, Catherine marveled again at the extraordinary child in her care. Lily had endured more loss and pain in her 7 years than many adults face in a lifetime, yet she still worried about the feelings of a man who had publicly humiliated her. Across town, in the Richardson family's historic Beacon Hill mansion, James Richardson sat alone in his grandfather's study, surrounded by old photographs and company memorabilia. He picked up a faded picture of his grandfather standing proudly before the first Richardson Hotel in 1952. I think I'm finally doing what you would have wanted, Grandpa, he murmured to the photograph. It just took a 7-year-old girl in a wheelchair to show me the way. The autumn sun cast long shadows across the newly renovated rehabilitation center as Lily's wheelchair rolled smoothly along the polished hallway. 6 months had passed since the Richardson acquisition, and the Morgan Richardson Foundation had been officially established with ambitious goals and substantial funding. Are you nervous? Catherine asked, walking beside Lily as they approached the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Lily adjusted the navy blue dress she'd chosen for the occasion. A little. There will be a lot of people. You don't have to speak if you don't want to, Catherine reminded her. James can handle the formal remarks." Lily shook her head determinedly. "I practiced my speech. I want to do it." Catherine smiled, reminded yet again of William Morgan's steadfast character so clearly inherited by his daughter. In the months since taking control of Richardson Enterprises, they had implemented sweeping changes, better worker conditions, community investment requirements, and, perhaps most significantly, the revival and expansion of the Foundation's medical research. The ceremony area came into view, a beautiful garden courtyard at the center of what had once been a struggling Richardson medical facility, now transformed into the Morgan Richardson Pediatric Rehabilitation Center. A crowd had gathered, including board members, medical staff, patients and their families, and press. James Richardson stood at the entrance greeting guests. When he spotted Lily, his face brightened. The past months had transformed him almost as much as they had transformed the company. Free from his brother's toxic influence, James had thrown himself into the Foundation work with genuine passion. "Miss Lily, you look very professional today," he said, bending to her level. "Ready for your big moment?" Lily nodded seriously. "I think so. Did you bring the special scissors?" "Extra large and ribbon ready," James confirmed, producing comically oversized ceremonial scissors that made Lily giggle, a sound that always warmed Catherine's heart. As they took their positions near the podium, Catherine noticed a familiar figure at the back of the crowd. Maxwell Richardson stood half-hidden behind a decorative pillar, his once immaculate appearance now slightly disheveled. She nudged James and gestured discreetly. James's expression tightened. "I invited him. I didn't think he'd actually come." "Should we be concerned?" Catherine asked quietly. "He's been different since returning from the Maldives," James replied. "Quieter. He asked to see the Foundation's research reports last week." Before they could discuss further, the ceremony began. The hospital director welcomed everyone and introduced James, who spoke briefly about the Foundation's history and renewed mission. "And now," James concluded, "I'd like to introduce the real visionary behind our new direction. At just 7 years old, she has already taught all of us profound lessons about dignity, compassion, and second chances. Please welcome Miss Lily Morgan." Catherine wheeled Lily to the microphone, which had been adjusted to her height. A hush fell over the crowd as the small girl in the wheelchair looked out at them with serious brown eyes. "Thank you for coming today," Lily began, her clear voice carrying across the courtyard. "When I was 5, a car accident took away my parents and my ability to walk. The doctors tried very hard to help me, but some things can't be fixed yet." She paused, gathering her thoughts just as Catherine had practiced with her. "My daddy always said that when you can't fix something, you should help others, so maybe one day someone can. That's why this place is important. Here, kids like me can get stronger, and scientists can learn how to help us better." From his position at the back, Maxwell Richardson watched the child speak with an unreadable expression. "Everyone deserves a second chance," Lily continued, "including kids whose bodies don't work right, and grown-ups who made mistakes." Her eyes somehow found Maxwell in the crowd. "This center is a second chance for a lot of people." As Lily concluded her remarks, the crowd erupted in applause. James wheeled her to the ceremonial ribbon, where she managed the oversized scissors with help, officially opening the center. During the reception that followed, Catherine kept a watchful eye as Lily interacted with other children from the rehabilitation program. For all her business acumen and mature outlook, in these moments, Lily was simply a 7-year-old girl, laughing as she raced another child in a wheelchair across the smooth courtyard surface. Catherine was so focused on Lily that she didn't notice Maxwell Richardson approaching until he was beside her. "She's quite something," he said quietly, watching Lily. "Not at all what I expected." Catherine tensed. "Mr. Richardson, I'm surprised to see you here." "So is everyone else, apparently," he replied with a hint of his old sarcasm. "Including my brother." "If you're here to cause trouble—" "I'm not," Maxwell interrupted, his voice lacking its usual edge. "Contrary to what you might think, 6 months on a yacht with nothing but your own thoughts and a growing collection of lawsuit rejections gives you time to reflect." Catherine studied him skeptically. The Maxwell Richardson she knew was not given to introspection or remorse. "While I was away," he continued, "I received treatment updates about a child named Miguel, who was in one of my grandfather's original research programs. His family sent them religiously, even after I'd all but abandoned the foundation." He pulled out his phone and showed Catherine a video of a young boy taking halting steps with a walker. "He's walking now. Because of research my family started and then I nearly destroyed." Before Catherine could respond, James joined them, his posture stiff. "Max, I wasn't sure you'd show your face. Sure you'd show—" "No, little brother," Maxwell acknowledged with a nod. "You've done good work here, better than I would have." James blinked in surprise at what might have been the first genuine compliment from his brother in decades. "I'd like to speak with Miss Morgan," Maxwell said. "With your permission, of course," he added to Catherine. Catherine hesitated. "That depends entirely on what you intend to say. Nothing inappropriate, I assure you." For perhaps the first time since Catherine had known him, Maxwell Richardson looked genuinely humbled. "I owe her an apology, among other things." After a moment's consideration, Catherine nodded. "I'll be watching closely." Maxwell approached Lily as she rested by the fountain after her wheelchair race. He moved slowly, clearly conscious of how intimidating his presence might be to the child. "Miss Morgan," he said formally, "may I speak with you for a moment?" Lily looked up, recognition flickering in her eyes. "Mr. Richardson, you came to our opening." "I did." He lowered himself to a nearby bench, bringing himself closer to her eye level. "I wanted to see what you've done with my grandfather's foundation, and—" He paused, seeming to struggle with the words. "I wanted to apologize for my behavior at the restaurant and afterward. It was inexcusable." Lily studied him with that unnervingly direct gaze. "You were very mean." "Yes," he acknowledged. "I was. I've been mean for a long time to a lot of people. It took losing everything to make me see that." "You haven't lost everything," Lily pointed out matter-of-factly. "You still have your brother, and you're still rich, just not as rich as before." A startled laugh escaped Maxwell. "You're right on both counts. Very astute for your age. My daddy said I noticed things." Lily tilted her head. "Are you still angry at me?" Maxwell's expression sobered. "No, Miss Morgan. I'm angry at myself. You were just the messenger who showed me what I'd become." He hesitated, then reached into his jacket pocket. "I brought something for the center, a donation in my grandfather's name." He handed Lily an envelope. Inside was a check with a startling number of zeros, along with property deeds for 3 Richardson vacation homes. "These are some of my personal assets, not company holdings," he explained. "I want them used specifically for families of children in long-term treatment, places where they can stay together during difficult times." Lily looked from the documents to Maxwell's face. "That's a lot of money." "It's a start," he replied simply. "You showed me that wealth without purpose is meaningless. I'd like to find a better purpose for mine." From across the courtyard, Catherine and James watched the unlikely conversation between the billionaire mogul and the small girl in the wheelchair, a child who had changed the course of a corporate empire and perhaps begun the redemption of a man many had considered beyond saving. "Do you think he's sincere?" Catherine murmured. James shrugged. "I don't know, but if anyone can bring out the best in people, it's Lily. She did it for me." And as the afternoon sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the new rehabilitation center, Lily Morgan, orphaned, physically challenged but spiritually mighty, had accomplished what armies of lawyers, business rivals and family interventions could not. She had given Maxwell Richardson a glimpse of a better version of himself, and with it, The first real chance at happiness he'd had in years. And somewhere, William and Elizabeth Morgan were surely looking down on their extraordinary daughter with immeasurable pride. 1 year after the opening of the Morgan Richardson Pediatric Rehabilitation Center, 8-year-old Lily Morgan sat in her advanced wheelchair, watching children play in the center's indoor therapeutic pool. The facility had already helped hundreds of children with mobility challenges, becoming a beacon of hope for families across New England. "Penny for your thoughts?" Catherine Chen asked, sitting beside her goddaughter. Lily smiled, her honey-brown curls now longer and styled in a neat braid. "I was thinking about how Daddy would like this place. All the laughing." Catherine nodded, following Lily's gaze to where a physical therapist was helping a young boy float independently for the first time, his face alight with accomplishment. "He absolutely would," Catherine agreed. "Your father loved nothing more than seeing people happy." Their quiet moment was interrupted by Martha, who approached with a tablet in hand. "Ms. Chen, there's a situation at the Boston Heights property that needs your attention. And Miss Lily, Dr. Winters says Miguel is ready for his demonstration if you'd like to see." Lily's eyes brightened. "The exoskeleton test?" "The very same," Martha confirmed with a smile. Catherine rose, giving Lily's shoulder a gentle squeeze. "You go ahead with Martha. I'll join you after I handle this call." As Martha wheeled Lily toward the research wing, they passed James Richardson in deep conversation with a hospital administrator. He paused to wave at Lily, who waved back enthusiastically. Over the past year, James had become a fixture at the foundation, working tirelessly to expand its reach and effectiveness. The research laboratory was a bright, open space filled with cutting-edge equipment. Dr. Angela Winters greeted them at the door, her face animated with excitement. "Lily, perfect timing. Miguel is just getting fitted." 10-year-old Miguel Suarez sat on an examination table as technicians made final adjustments to a sleek, lightweight exoskeleton attached to his legs. Unlike bulky earlier models, this version was slim enough to wear under regular clothing, with advanced neural interface technology developed through foundation funding. "Hi, Miguel," Lily said, wheeling herself closer. "Are you nervous?" Miguel grinned, his dark eyes sparkling. "A little, but mostly excited, Dr. Winters says this might help me walk all the way across the room." Lily nodded solemnly. "That's amazing. My doctors say I might try something like this next year, when I'm a little bigger." Dr. Winters knelt between the two children. "That's right, Lily. And Miguel here is helping us gather important data that will make future versions even better." The technician stepped back, giving Miguel space. With remarkable concentration for a child his age, he activated the exoskeleton using small movements of his partially functioning leg muscles, amplified by the device's sensors. Slowly, carefully, Miguel rose to a standing position. A collective breath was held as he steadied himself, then took one step forward, then another, his face a mixture of intense focus and wonder. Lily watched, transfixed, as Miguel actually walked, across the laboratory floor. His gait was mechanical and measured, but unmistakably bipedal locomotion. When he reached the opposite wall, the room erupted in applause. "You did it!" Lily exclaimed, clapping harder than anyone. Miguel turned carefully, beaming with pride. "It feels strange, but good strange." Martha leaned down to whisper in Lily's ear. "This is because of you, sweetheart. Your foundation made this possible." Lily shook her head. "Not just me. Lots of people helped." Later, as the demonstration concluded and Miguel was helped out of the exoskeleton, Lily wheeled herself over to speak with him privately. "Was it scary?" she asked, her voice hushed with curiosity. Miguel considered the question seriously. "Not scary, exactly. More like weird. Like my legs were mine, but also not mine at the same time." He looked at her intently. "Are you going to try it?" "I hope so," Lily replied. "My injury is higher up than yours, so I might need a different kind. But Dr. Winters thinks there might be options for me soon. I bet you'll be great at it, Miguel said with the simple confidence of childhood. You're already really good with your wheelchair. You go super fast. Lily grinned. I've been practicing my turns. Want to see? Indeed, as the two children moved to a more open area where Lily could demonstrate her wheelchair handling skills, Catherine slipped into the laboratory. Dr. Winters joined her near the doorway. She's remarkable, Dr. Winters observed, watching Lily perform a perfect 360-degree spin that made Miguel clap with delight. Most children in her position would be focused entirely on their own recovery. Catherine nodded. William and Elizabeth raised her to think beyond herself, even before the accident. And afterward, she paused, emotional. Afterward, I think she understood on some level that helping others was the best way to honor them. The foundation has made more progress in the past year than in the previous decade, Dr. Winters continued. James has been instrumental, of course, but having Lily as the face of our mission opens doors and hearts in ways I never imagined. Speaking of the Richardsons, Catherine said, lowering her voice, have you heard from Maxwell recently? Dr. Winters nodded. He's been funding a separate research initiative through us, focusing on spinal cord regeneration, completely anonymous, though I'm sure Lily knows that child doesn't miss much. Indeed, across the room, Lily was now engaged in animated conversation with Miguel, both children discussing their hopes for future mobility advancements with the matter-of-fact optimism that only the young can maintain in the face of significant challenges. I heard Maxwell is back in Boston, Catherine said. James mentioned he's looking at property for some new venture. A residential facility for families of long-term patients, Dr. Winters confirmed. He's working with architects who specialize in universal design. It's quite remarkable, actually. He consults with our young patients on features they'd find helpful. Catherine couldn't help but smile at the irony. So the man who once mocked a disabled child is now taking design advice from them. People can change, Dr. Winters said simply. Some just need a stronger push than others. The next morning, Catherine found Lily already awake and reading in the sunlit breakfast nook of their penthouse. Since the accident, Lily had become an even more voracious reader than before, often losing herself in books about science, medicine, and biographies of people who had overcome significant challenges. You're up early, Catherine observed, pouring herself coffee. Lily looked up from her tablet. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Miguel walking yesterday. Catherine sat beside her. It was pretty amazing, wasn't it? It was, Lily agreed, but also... She hesitated, searching for the right words. It made me wonder if I'll ever walk again. Like really walk, not just with an exoskeleton. The vulnerability in Lily's voice made Catherine's heart ache. Despite her extraordinary resilience, Lily was still a child, carrying burdens no child should have to bear. The doctors haven't ruled it out, Catherine said carefully. Your injury was incomplete, which gives you better odds than many. But even if full walking isn't possible, I know, Lily interrupted with a small smile, life can still be good and full. That's what my therapist always says. Catherine reached over to tuck a strand of hair behind Lily's ear. And she's right. But it's also okay to hope for more, Lily. Hope is never wrong. Dr. Winters told me about Mr. Richardson's new research project, Lily said, changing the subject slightly. The one about helping spinal cords heal themselves. Catherine nodded. She mentioned that to me, too. It's still very experimental, but promising. Do you think, Lily began, then stopped herself. Never mind. What is it, sweetheart? Lily fidgeted with the edge of her tablet. Do you think he's doing it because of me, to make up for being mean that night? Catherine considered the question thoughtfully. I think meeting you changed him in ways he never expected. Whether he's funding this research specifically because of you, or because he's found a genuine purpose. The result is the same. He's using his resources to help people instead of just accumulating more wealth. Lily seemed satisfied with this answer. I'm glad he's different now. Being angry all the time must have been exhausting. Later that afternoon, James Richardson arrived at the penthouse for their weekly Foundation review meeting. These sessions had become a regular part of their routine, with James presenting updates on ongoing projects and Catherine sharing insights from the business side of operations. While Lily didn't attend the entire meeting, she always joined for the first portion to hear about the children being helped by their programs. The new aquatic therapy wing is almost complete, James announced, displaying renderings on the large screen in Catherine's home office. We're on schedule to open next month. It looks wonderful, Lily commented from her position at the small desk Catherine had installed specifically for her. Will it have the underwater treadmill like we saw in Chicago? Even better, James smiled. We've incorporated the adjustable current system that can be calibrated for different resistance levels and rehabilitation needs. As James continued outlining the new facility's features, Catherine couldn't help but marvel at how thoroughly he had embraced this new chapter of his life. The once reluctant younger brother of Maxwell Richardson had found his calling in philanthropic work, approaching Foundation projects with the same meticulous attention to detail that had previously been directed toward corporate acquisitions. There's something else, James said as they were wrapping up the facility review. Max asked me to bring this by. He removed a slim folder from his briefcase and handed it to Catherine. It's preliminary information about a new research initiative he's funding. He thought you and Lily might want to review it. Catherine opened the folder to find detailed documentation about an experimental neural regeneration therapy being developed by a team of international scientists. The approach combined stem cell treatments with a novel bioelectronic scaffold designed to bridge damaged sections of the spinal cord. This is ambitious, Catherine said, skimming the technical summaries. It's cutting edge, James agreed. Max has assembled some of the top researchers in the field. They're preparing for the first human trials within the next 6 months. Lily, who had been listening intently, asked the question Catherine was contemplating. Does he want me to be part of the trial? James's expression softened. He specifically said there's no pressure or expectation. He simply wanted you to be aware of the research and have the information available should you be interested. After James left, Catherine found Lily in her bedroom, looking through old family photographs. It was something the child did periodically, particularly when processing difficult emotions or facing important decisions. Thinking about your parents, Catherine asked gently, sitting on the edge of the bed. Lily nodded, tracing her finger over an image of her father, holding her on his shoulders at a baseball game. Daddy always said we should try everything once, especially if it scared us a little. That's how we grow. Catherine waited, giving Lily space to continue her thought. I think I want to learn more about Mr. Richardson's research, Lily said finally. Not because I need to walk again to be happy, but because if it could help me and other kids like me, then maybe that's what Daddy would want me to do. As the sun set over Boston Harbor, casting golden light across the penthouse, Catherine marveled once again at the wisdom and courage of the extraordinary child in her care. Whatever path Lily chose, whether pursuing experimental treatments or embracing life exactly as it was, Catherine knew that William and Elizabeth Morgan would be immensely proud of their daughter. And somewhere across town, Maxwell Richardson sat in his newly modest office, reviewing the latest research updates from his international team of scientists, driven by a purpose that had eluded him throughout decades of wealth accumulation. The cruel words, spoken in a restaurant 3 years earlier, had set in motion a chain of transformation that continued to ripple outward, touching lives in ways no one could have anticipated. Irate spring sunshine filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Morgan penthouse as 9-year-old Lily Morgan concentrated on her physical therapy exercises. 18 months had passed since the opening of the rehabilitation center, and Lily had grown both physically and emotionally. Her honey-brown hair was longer now, usually worn in 2 neat braids, and her face had lost some of its baby roundness. "That's excellent, Lily," encouraged her physical therapist, Sarah. "Your core strength has improved significantly." Lily nodded, determined, as she completed the set of exercises designed to strengthen her upper body and the parts of her lower body that still responded to neural signals. The accident had left her with incomplete paralysis. While she couldn't walk, she retained some sensation and limited movement in certain muscle groups. "Do you think I'll be ready for the exoskeleton trial this summer?" Lily asked, reaching for her water bottle. Sarah smiled. "Dr. Winters certainly thinks so. Your progress reports are very encouraging." From the doorway, Catherine watched with quiet pride. Managing Lily's rehabilitation alongside her education and limited business involvement had been a delicate balance, but the results spoke for themselves. Lily was thriving, academically advanced for her age, emotionally resilient, and making steady physical progress. As Sarah packed up her equipment, Catherine's phone buzzed with a notification. She glanced at the screen and raised an eyebrow in surprise. "What is it?" Lily asked, always perceptive. "Maxwell Richardson has requested a meeting," Catherine replied, studying Lily's reaction. "With both of us." Lily considered this, while transferring herself from the therapy mat to her wheelchair, a task she now managed independently. "Is it about the foundation?" He didn't specify, just said it was important. Since his unexpected appearance at the rehabilitation center's opening, Maxwell had maintained a complicated relationship with the Morgan Chen Enterprises. He had made substantial anonymous donations to the foundation and occasionally consulted on special projects, but largely kept his distance from the corporate side of things. "I think we should meet him," Lily decided after a moment's thought. "Maybe he has a good idea." Catherine sometimes marveled at Lily's capacity for optimism, despite everything she had endured. "I'll arrange it then, but at the foundation offices, not here." The following afternoon, Lily and Catherine arrived at the Morgan Richardson Foundation headquarters, a beautifully renovated historic building in downtown Boston. James Richardson met them in the lobby, looking slightly perplexed. "Max is already here," he informed them. "He's been unusually secretive about this meeting, even with me." Catherine raised an eyebrow. "Should we be concerned?" James shook his head. "I don't think so. He's been different these past 2 years. More like the brother I knew when we were young, before our father put us in competition with each other." They found Maxwell waiting in the main conference room, accompanied by a distinguished-looking man in his 60s, whom Catherine recognized as Dr. Howard Bennett, a leading neurosurgeon specializing in spinal cord injuries. "Ms. Chen, Miss Morgan," Maxwell greeted them formally, the hostility of their early encounters long since replaced by cautious respect. "Thank you for agreeing to meet on such short notice." Lily wheeled herself to the conference table. "Hello, Mr. Richardson. Hello, Dr. Bennett." The neurosurgeon smiled warmly at Lily. "You remember me from your last evaluation. I'm impressed." "I remember all my doctors," Lily replied matter-of-factly. "There have been a lot of them." Catherine took a seat beside Lily. "What's this about, Maxwell?" Maxwell nodded to Dr. Bennett, who opened a tablet and placed it on the table. "For the past 18 months, I've been funding a research initiative focusing on neural regeneration techniques," Maxwell began. "Dr. Bennett has been leading the team, working in coordination with similar research groups in Switzerland and Japan." Dr. Bennett turned the tablet to show complex medical imagery. "We've been developing a combination approach, specialized stem cell therapy, coupled with targeted neural stimulation and a new bioelectronic scaffold that helps guide nerve regrowth. Catherine glanced at Lily, concerned this might be too technical or potentially raising false hopes, but the child was listening with rapt attention. The treatment has shown remarkable success in preliminary animal trials, Dr. Bennett continued, and we've just received approval for the first human clinical trials. Maxwell leaned forward. What Dr. Bennett is saying, Lily, is that there might be a new treatment option for spinal cord injuries like yours. Something beyond the exoskeletons and current therapies. Catherine felt her heart rate quicken. And you're bringing this to us because Lily would be an ideal candidate for the first trial group, Dr. Bennett explained gently. Her injury type, the time elapsed since injury, her overall health and her age all make her particularly suitable. Maxwell held up a hand. To be absolutely clear, this is not me trying to fix what I once cruelly mocked. This is me putting the full force of my remaining resources behind science that might help Lily and thousands of others. Whether Lily participates in the trial is entirely her decision, and yours, of course, Catherine. James, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. How experimental is this treatment, Dr. Bennett? What are the risks? Dr. Bennett acknowledged the concern with a nod. All medical trials carry risks. In this case, the primary concerns would be rejection of the stem cell implants or infection at the implantation site. However, the scaffolding material has shown excellent biocompatibility in all tests thus far. Lily, who had been unusually quiet, finally asked the question that hung in the air. Could it help me walk again? Dr. Bennett's expression was gentle but honest. I can't promise that, Lily. What we're hoping for in this first trial is restoration of some neural function. That might mean increased sensation, better bladder and bowel control, or yes, potentially some motor function recovery. But full independent walking would be an exceptional outcome at this stage. We'd want you to review all the research, Maxwell added. Consult with other specialists. Take whatever time you need to decide. Catherine placed a protective hand on Lily's shoulder. This is a lot to process. We'll need comprehensive information and time to consider. Of course, Maxwell agreed immediately. Dr. Bennett has prepared complete documentation, including independent assessments from doctors not affiliated with the research. As the adults discussed logistics, Lily gazed out the conference room windows at the Boston skyline. The city had been her home all her life, but she'd experienced it differently since the accident, noting which buildings had proper ramps, which sidewalks were smoothly paved, which restaurant staff treated her with dignity rather than pity. Lily, Catherine's voice broke through her thoughts. Do you have any questions for Dr. Bennett right now? Lily turned back to the table. If it works, even a little bit, would it help other kids too? Dr. Bennett smiled. That's precisely the goal, Lily. Your participation would help refine the treatment for all future patients. Then I want to learn more about it, Lily decided. I can't say yes yet, but I want to understand everything. Now, as the meeting concluded, Maxwell hung back as the others left the conference room. When only he and Lily remained, he approached her wheelchair with uncharacteristic hesitation. Lily, I want you to know something, he said, his voice quieter than she'd ever heard it. Whatever you decide about the trial, the research will continue. This isn't conditional on your participation. Lily studied him with those disconcertingly perceptive eyes. You've changed a lot, Mr. Richardson. A ghost of a smile crossed Maxwell's face. I had an excellent teacher, albeit an unconventional one. He paused. Losing my company to a 7-year-old was perhaps the best thing that ever happened to me. It forced me to reevaluate everything. Are you happier now? Lily asked with the direct curiosity of childhood. Maxwell considered the question seriously. I'm more at peace. I spent decades accumulating wealth and power without purpose. Now I have less of both, but what I do have serves something meaningful. Lily nodded, satisfied with his answer. My daddy used to say that money is just a tool. It's what you build with it that matters. Your father was a wise man, Maxwell replied. I wish I'd known him properly, instead of just as a business rival. The following weeks were filled with consultations as Catherine arranged for Lily to meet with multiple specialists to evaluate Dr. Bennett's proposed treatment. Each expert carefully reviewed the research data, explaining the potential benefits and risks in terms Lily could understand. Dr. Elise Weber, a pediatric neurologist from Switzerland who had pioneered several innovative treatments for childhood spinal injuries, flew to Boston specifically to meet with Lily. Unlike some of the other specialists, who seemed slightly uncomfortable addressing a child directly about complex medical matters, Dr. Weber spoke to Lily with refreshing directness. The approach Dr. Bennett's team has developed is indeed promising, she explained, sitting eye-level with Lily in her office at Boston Children's Hospital. The combination of stem cell therapy with the bioelectronic scaffold addresses several challenges that have limited previous regeneration attempts. But you still have concerns? Catherine prompted, noting the subtle reservation in Dr. Weber's tone. The neurologist nodded. The procedure itself appears remarkably safe based on the animal studies. My main concern is managing expectations. Neural regeneration, when it occurs, is typically slow and incomplete. Lily considered this. So even if it works, I might not walk normally again. Precisely, Dr. Weber confirmed. But even partial restoration of neural function could significantly improve quality of life, increase sensation, improved bladder control, or limited motor function in previously unresponsive areas. These are meaningful outcomes even if they fall short of complete restoration. If I did the treatment, Lily asked thoughtfully, would I have to go to Switzerland? Dr. Weber smiled. As it happens, I've been collaborating with Dr. Bennett on this project. The Neurological Institute of Zurich would be the primary treatment site for the initial trial. It has specialized facilities specifically designed for this type of intervention. That evening, as Catherine tucked Lily into bed, the child was unusually contemplative. What are you thinking about, sweetheart? Catherine asked, sitting on the edge of the bed. Switzerland, Lily replied. Dad took Mom there once for their anniversary. They sent me a picture of mountains with snow, even though it was summer. Catherine smiled at the memory. The Alps, they're beautiful year-round. I think I want to try the treatment, Lily said after a moment, her voice quiet but resolute. Not just for me, but for all the kids who might be helped if it works. Catherine's heart swelled with a mixture of pride and apprehension. Are you sure? It's okay to take more time to decide. Lily shook her head. Dr. Weber said the sooner treatment begins after injury, the better the chances for recovery. I've already waited 2 years. She looked up at Catherine with those serious brown eyes that seemed to contain wisdom far beyond her 9 years. If Mom and Dad were here, I think they'd want me to try. Catherine gently brushed Lily's hair back from her forehead. I think so too. And whatever happens, whether the treatment helps a little, a lot, or not at all, we'll face it together. As Lily drifted off to sleep, Catherine remained beside her, watching the peaceful rise and fall of her chest. The decision to participate in an experimental medical trial was weighty even for an adult. For a child to make such a choice with such clarity of purpose was extraordinary. But then, Lily Morgan had never been an ordinary child. From the moment she'd cancelled a billion-dollar deal at age 7 to her thoughtful stewardship of the foundation bearing her name, Lily had demonstrated judgment and compassion that many adults never achieved. 3 days later, Catherine arranged a meeting with Maxwell and Dr. Bennett to inform them of Lily's decision. Maxwell's reaction, a mixture of hope, gratitude, and cautious optimism, confirmed Catherine's growing belief that his transformation was genuine. "I'll handle all the arrangements," he offered immediately. "Private transportation, accommodations in Switzerland, anything needed to make this as comfortable as possible for Lily." "That won't be necessary," Catherine replied. "The Morgan Chen Foundation will cover all expenses related to Lily's treatment." Maxwell looked momentarily taken aback, then nodded in understanding. "Of course, this is Lily's journey, but please know that my resources remain at your disposal should you need anything at all." As they finalized the logistics for Lily's participation in the trial, Catherine reflected on the unlikely alliance that had formed between them. What had begun as corporate warfare had evolved into a partnership focused on healing, not just for Lily, but potentially for countless children facing similar challenges. And at the center of it all was a 9-year-old girl whose courage and compassion continued to transform everyone fortunate enough to enter her orbit. The Morgan Chen private jet touched down at Zurich International Airport on a crisp autumn morning. 10-year-old Lily Morgan gazed out the window at the Swiss landscape, a mixture of excitement and apprehension playing across her features. "Are you ready?" Catherine asked gently, fastening her seatbelt as the aircraft taxied toward the private terminal. Lily nodded, tucking a strand of honey-brown hair behind her ear. "I think so. Dr. Bennett said the first procedure is just the evaluation and mapping, right?" "That's right," Catherine confirmed. "No actual implantation yet, just detailed scans and tests to create your personalized treatment plan." It had taken 6 months of consultations, research reviews, and family discussions before Catherine and Lily had agreed to participate in the experimental treatment program. Now, after weeks of preliminary testing in Boston, they had arrived in Switzerland for the next phase at the world-renowned Neurological Institute of Zurich, where Dr. Bennett had established a collaborative research center with European specialists. As the jet came to a stop, Martha efficiently organized their carry-on items while the flight attendant prepared Lily's specialized travel wheelchair. In the 3 years since the accident, Lily had graduated through several wheelchair models, each offering greater independence. Her current chair, custom-designed with input from Morgan Richardson Foundation engineers, featured advanced controls that accommodated her growing independence and active lifestyle. "Ms. Chen, Miss Morgan, welcome to Switzerland," greeted a tall woman in a crisp suit as they descended the aircraft stairs via the chairlift. "I'm Dr. Elise Weber, the Institute's Pediatric Neurology Director. Dr. Bennett asked me to escort you personally." Outside the terminal, a specially equipped van waited to transport them to the Institute. As they drove through Zurich's immaculate streets, Lily observed with interest how the city's infrastructure seamlessly accommodated accessibility needs, a stark contrast to the retrofitted accommodations common in older American cities. "The Institute is about 20 minutes outside the city center," Dr. Weber explained. "We've prepared a residential suite for you both within the complex, though there's a lovely hotel nearby if you prefer more separation between medical procedures and your living space." "I think we'll stay at the Institute initially," Catherine decided, glancing at Lily for confirmation. "We can reassess once we understand the schedule better." Lily nodded in agreement, her attention captured by the breathtaking alpine scenery emerging as they left the city proper. "It's so beautiful here." "It is indeed," Dr. Weber smiled. "And when you're not in treatment sessions, there are accessible trails and activities. Many of our patients find the natural setting conducive to healing." The Neurological Institute of Zurich was a marvel of modern architecture, a sprawling complex of glass and sustainable materials that blended harmoniously with the surrounding landscape. Solar panels gleamed on curved rooftops, while green terraces offered peaceful outdoor spaces for patients and staff. As they entered the main building, Lily was struck by how unlike a hospital it felt. The reception area featured comfortable seating, natural wood elements, and floor-to-ceiling windows that flooded the space with natural light. "Dr. Bennett is finishing up with another patient," Dr. Weber informed them. "He'll join us shortly. In the meantime, would you like to see your accommodations?" The residential suite exceeded even Catherine's exacting standards. Spacious and thoughtfully designed, it featured 2 bedrooms, a comfortable living area, and a fully accessible bathroom with state-of-the-art fixtures. Most impressive was the smart home system that allowed Lily to control everything, from lighting to window shades, through voice commands or her tablet. "This is amazing," Lily marveled, testing the adjustable height countertops in the kitchenette. "The Institute believes that healing environments should empower patients," Dr. Weber explained. "Many of the accessibility features you see were actually designed with input from our pediatric patients." A gentle knock at the door announced Dr. Bennett's arrival. The neurosurgeon's face lit up at the sight of Lily. "There's my star patient. How was your flight, Lily?" "It was good," Lily replied. "I watched 2 movies and did some homework." "Always the diligent student," Dr. Bennett smiled. "I have someone special who'd like to meet you, if you're not too tired from traveling." At Lily's curious nod, Dr. Bennett stepped aside to reveal a boy about Lily's age, in a wheelchair similar to hers. With dark hair and bright blue eyes, he had an engaging smile that immediately put Lily at ease. "This is Lucas Zimmerman," Dr. Bennett introduced. "He's part of the same treatment group as you, and he's been here for 2 weeks already." "Hello," Lucas greeted with a slight German accent. "Dr. Bennett said you are from Boston." "I visited there once with my parents." Catherine observed with quiet pleasure as Lily immediately engaged with the boy, asking questions about his experiences at the Institute so far. It had been a priority throughout Lily's recovery to ensure she had regular interaction with other children, both with and without disabilities, but there was a special connection that often formed between young people facing similar challenges. "Perhaps Lucas could show Lily around while we discuss tomorrow's schedule," Dr. Weber suggested. After confirming that Lily was comfortable with this plan, Catherine watched the 2 children head off down the corridor, already deep in conversation about the Institute's accessible recreation room. "He's a wonderful boy," Dr. Bennett commented as they settled in the living area. "Similar injury to Lily's, though from a different cause, a climbing accident in the Alps 2 years ago. His family lives in Munich, but his father is staying here during the treatment." Dr. Weber opened her tablet, displaying a detailed schedule. "We've arranged for Lily's initial evaluation tomorrow morning. The comprehensive neural mapping will take approximately 3 hours, but it's non-invasive and painless. We'll use that data to finalize her personalized treatment protocol." "And the actual procedure?" Catherine asked, the weight of responsibility heavy in her voice. "If the evaluation confirms Lily's candidacy, we could begin the first phase of treatment within 10 days, Dr. Bennett explained. The initial stem cell implantation is a relatively minor surgical procedure, followed by 2 weeks of specialized physical therapy before the bioelectronic scaffold placement. As the adults continued their discussion of medical protocols and treatment timelines, Lily and Lucas explored the Institute's common areas. The recreation room was equipped with adaptive gaming systems, a small library of books in multiple languages, and art supplies designed for users with various mobility capabilities. "The food here is pretty good," Lucas told Lily as they passed the cafeteria. "Not like normal hospital food. They have a real chef and everything." "That's good," Lily replied. "Hospital food is usually so boring." "You've been in hospitals a lot?" Lucas asked, expertly navigating his wheelchair around a corner. Lily nodded. After the accident, I was in the hospital for almost 3 months, and then lots of checkups and tests afterward. Same, Lucas said matter-of-factly. It's annoying when doctors talk about you like you're not there. Exactly, Lily exclaimed, pleased to find someone who understood. Or when they use baby voices. Oh, the two children laughed, finding common ground in their shared experiences. As they continued their tour, Lucas pointed out various features of the Institute, from the indoor therapy pool to the virtual reality rehabilitation room where patients could practice movements in simulated environments. Dr. Weber says the VR helps because your brain thinks you're moving even when your body can't, he explained. It's supposed to keep the neural pathways active or something like that. That makes sense, Lily mused. My physical therapist in Boston talks about similar things. They eventually made their way to an outdoor terrace with a spectacular view of the Alps. The autumn air was crisp but not uncomfortable, and the late afternoon sun cast a golden glow over the mountains. Sometimes I come out here to do my schoolwork, Lucas said, positioning his wheelchair near the railing. It's peaceful. It's beautiful, Lily agreed, gazing at the snow-capped peaks in the distance. Do you miss home? Lucas considered the question. Sometimes, but my dad visits every weekend, and we video chat with my mom and sister every night. And the other kids here are nice. There's even another American boy, though he's younger, only 7. Is everyone here for the same treatment? Lily asked. Not exactly, Lucas explained. Some kids are here for different therapies. But there are 5 of us in Dr. Bennett's special program. He glanced at Lily curiously. Did they tell you about the treatment, with the special cells and the electronic thing? Lily nodded. The stem cells and bioelectronic scaffold. Dr. Bennett explained it, and Catherine, my godmother, had other doctors explain it too, to make sure it was safe. My doctors said it might help me feel my legs again, Lucas said, a note of hope in his voice. Maybe even move them a little, not like before, but something. That's what they told me too, Lily replied. Even a little bit of feeling would be nice. Lucas nodded emphatically. Like to know if something is too hot, or if your foot is in a weird position. My therapist says those are the practical things that matter most. As they sat together on the terrace, 2 children brought together by circumstance and shared experience, Lily felt a sense of connection she hadn't experienced since before the accident. While Catherine, Martha, and the foundation staff were endlessly supportive, there was something different about talking with someone who truly understood the daily realities of life with paralysis. Want to see something cool? Lucas asked suddenly. At Lily's nod, he pressed a button on his wheelchair's control panel, and the seat began to rise smoothly, elevating him to a higher position. It's a standing function. My dad had it specially made. It helps with circulation and bone density, plus I can reach things better. That's awesome, Lily said with genuine admiration. Maybe I could get something like that too. I bet your foundation people could make an even better one, Lucas replied. My dad told me about your foundation. He said it's helping lots of kids like us. Lily felt a flush of pride. We try to. It was my dad's restaurant that Mr. Richardson was trying to buy when everything happened. Mr. Richardson comes here sometimes, Lucas mentioned. He talks to Dr. Bennett and the other doctors. He seems really serious about the research. He's different now, Lily said thoughtfully. From how he was before, I mean. My dad says people can change if something big enough happens to shake them up, Lucas observed, with the simple wisdom of childhood. Like my accident changed me. I used to be scared of a lot of things, but now I'm braver. Lily smiled at this insight. I think I'm braver too. And I notice things more, like which buildings have good ramps, or when people are being nice because they really care, versus when they're just feeling sorry for you. Yes, Lucas exclaimed. You can totally tell the difference. As the sun began to set behind the mountains, Catherine and Dr. Bennett came to find the children. They found Lily and Lucas engaged in an animated conversation, completely absorbed in their shared experiences and observations. "I see you two have become acquainted," Dr. Bennett remarked with a smile. "Lucas has been showing me around," Lily explained. "He knows everything about the Institute." "An excellent tour guide," Catherine commented. "Thank you, Lucas." "It was fun," the boy replied with a grin. "It's nice having someone new to talk to." Dr. Bennett checked his watch. "Lucas, your father will be arriving soon for dinner. And Lily, you should probably rest after your long journey." As they prepared to part ways, Lucas turned to Lily. "Tomorrow after your tests, maybe we could play chess. They have a really nice set in the recreation room." "I'd like that," Lily agreed. "But I should warn you, I'm pretty good." Lucas's eyes sparkled with competitive spirit. "So am I. My grandfather was a chess master." That night, as Catherine helped Lily prepare for bed, she noticed a lightness in the child that had been absent in recent weeks. The anxiety about the upcoming treatment seemed temporarily eclipsed by the excitement of making a new friend. "You and Lucas seem to hit it off," Catherine observed as she arranged Lily's pillows. "He's nice," Lily replied, settling into bed, "and he understands things without me having to explain, like how it feels when people stare or ask weird questions." Catherine nodded in understanding. "Shared experiences create powerful bonds. He says the treatment doesn't hurt much," Lily continued. "Just the surgery part, and they give you medicine for that. The rest is mostly boring, lots of tests and exercises." "That's reassuring," Catherine said, sitting on the edge of the bed. "Are you feeling okay about tomorrow's evaluation?" Lily considered the question, a little nervous, but also hopeful. "But not like I expect to be completely fixed or anything, just that maybe something good will happen." Catherine leaned down to kiss Lily's forehead. "That's a perfect way to approach it. Hopeful, but realistic." As Lily drifted off to sleep, Catherine stood by the large windows of their suite, gazing out at the moonlit Alps. The journey that had brought them to this place, from a cruel encounter in a Boston restaurant to a cutting-edge medical facility in Switzerland, was remarkable by any standard. And at the heart of it all was a child whose capacity for forgiveness and vision had transformed not just her own circumstances, but the lives of countless others. Whatever the outcome of the experimental treatment, Lily Morgan had already achieved something extraordinary. She had turned personal tragedy into a force for healing that extended far beyond herself. Tomorrow would bring the first concrete steps toward a potential new chapter in Lily's physical recovery. But in many ways, the most profound healing had already occurred, in the redemption of Maxwell Richardson, in the renewed purpose of James Richardson, and in the creation of a foundation that would help children with mobility challenges for generations to come. The observation gallery above Operating Room 3 at the Neurological Institute of Zurich was unusually crowded for a Tuesday morning. Behind the soundproof glass, a distinguished group watched with rapt attention as Dr. Howard Bennett and Dr. Elise Weber prepared for the final phase of Lily Morgan's experimental treatment. "The preliminary results from the first 6 patients have exceeded our initial projections," explained Dr. Marcus Volker, the Institute's director, to the assembled observers. "Particularly in the pediatric cohort, where neural plasticity is higher." Among those watching were Catherine Chen, James Richardson, and somewhat surprisingly, Maxwell Richardson, who had flown in from Boston the previous evening specifically for this procedure. And Lily's response to the initial stem cell implantation. Ud asked a representative from the European Medical Authority who was evaluating the treatment protocol for potential expanded approval. Dr. Volker pulled up Lily's chart on a nearby monitor. "Exceptional. After just 6 weeks, we're seeing neural regeneration along the damaged pathways at nearly twice the rate we initially hypothesized." Her sensory recovery below the injury site has improved by approximately 22%. Catherine's eyes remained fixed on the operating room below, where 10-year-old Lily was being prepared for anesthesia. The little girl appeared remarkably calm, chatting with the anesthesiologist as monitoring equipment was attached. "She's something else, isn't she?" James said quietly to Catherine. "Most adults would be terrified." Catherine nodded, emotion tightening her throat. "She's always been braver than anyone should have to be." Maxwell, standing slightly apart from the others, seemed lost in his own thoughts as he watched the scene below. Over the past 3 years, he had redirected much of his considerable fortune toward funding this research, working alongside the Morgan Richardson Foundation, but often preferring to remain in the background. In the operating room, Dr. Bennett approached Lily's bedside. Though his voice wasn't audible in the gallery, the observers could see him speaking reassuringly to his young patient. Lily nodded, then gave a thumbs up that brought smiles to many faces in the observation area. "The procedure today involves placement of the bioelectronic scaffold," Dr. Volker continued his explanation. "Unlike traditional spinal stimulators, this device is biomimetic, designed to function like natural nervous tissue while providing targeted stimulation to the regenerating nerves. It's also biodegradable, gradually dissolving as the patient's own neural tissue reestablishes connections." The anesthesiologist administered the sedative, and Lily's eyes slowly closed. The surgical team efficiently positioned her and began the careful preparation for the delicate procedure. "How long before we'll know if it worked?" James asked. "The scaffold activation occurs approximately 1 week post-surgery," Dr. Volker replied. "But meaningful functional improvements typically begin to manifest within 3 to 6 weeks, assuming the integration is successful." Catherine felt a gentle hand on her shoulder and turned to find Maxwell standing beside her, his expression uncharacteristically vulnerable. "She'll be all right," he said quietly. "Bennett is the best there is." Catherine studied the man who had once been her adversary. "This means a lot to you, doesn't it?" Maxwell nodded, his gaze returning to the operating room. "More than I can adequately express. When I think about how I behaved toward her that night at the restaurant." He shook his head, leaving the thought unfinished. "You've done a great deal to make amends," Catherine acknowledged. "This research, the foundation work, it's helped many children beyond just Lily." "It doesn't erase what I did," Maxwell replied, "but perhaps it gives that moment some purpose in the larger scheme of things. If I hadn't been so cruel, you wouldn't have taken control of my company. Without those resources redirected to the foundation, this research might have progressed much more slowly." Below, the surgery had begun in earnest. Dr. Bennett and Dr. Weber worked with focused precision, their movements economical and sure as they navigated the delicate tissues of Lily's spine. The 6 weeks since their arrival in Switzerland had been a whirlwind of medical procedures, evaluation sessions, and carefully monitored recovery periods. Following the initial comprehensive assessment, Lily had undergone the first phase of treatment, specialized stem cell implantation designed to initiate neural regeneration at the injury site. The immediate post-implantation period had been challenging. Lily experienced discomfort and fatigue as her body responded to the treatment, but her resilience never wavered. Each day, she diligently participated in the specialized physical therapy protocol designed to work in concert with the biological intervention. Lucas Zimmerman, who had undergone the same procedures 3 weeks ahead of Lily, became both a friend and a source of encouragement. Having already experienced each step of the process, he could prepare Lily for what to expect and celebrate her progress with genuine understanding. "The first week after stem cells is the worst," he had confided to her, "but then it gets better, and when you start feeling new sensations, even tiny ones, it's worth everything." Indeed, approximately 2 weeks after the stem cell implantation, Lily had experienced her first new sensations below the level of her injury, faint tingling in her right thigh that Dr. Weber confirmed was genuine neural response rather than phantom sensation. The discovery had brought tears to Catherine's eyes and a rare display of emotion from Dr. Bennett, who had worked toward this moment for years. Now, with the stem cells establishing their intricate work of cellular regeneration, the time had come for the second phase of treatment, implantation of the bioelectronic scaffold that would provide structure and stimulation to the regenerating neural pathways. Lucas's scaffold has been active for nearly 3 weeks now, Doctor. Volker noted to the observation group. His sensory recovery has reached 31% in the right leg and 27% in the left, with preliminary indications of returning motor function in the hip flexors and quadriceps. Has he attempted standing? The EMA representative inquired. Not independently, Dr. Volker clarified. But with support, he can now bear approximately 15% of his body weight through his legs, a significant improvement from his baseline of essentially 0. In the operating room, Dr. Bennett had reached the critical phase of the procedure. On the high-definition monitors, the observers could see the damaged section of Lily's spinal cord, with the newly regenerating neural tissue appearing slightly different in texture and color from the original structures. With extraordinary precision, Dr. Bennett placed the bioelectronic scaffold, a translucent lattice-like structure smaller than a postage stamp, exactly at the site of injury. Under magnification, the observers could see how the biomaterial integrated with the surrounding tissue, its microscopic electrodes positioned to interface with the damaged neural pathways. Remarkable engineering, breathed one of the observing neurosurgeons. The scaffold appears almost organic in how it conforms to the neural architecture. That's by design, Dr. Volker explained. The scaffold material is derived from specialized hydrogels combined with carbon nanotubes that mimic the electrical conductivity of natural neurons. As the patient's own neural tissue regenerates, it grows through and eventually replaces the scaffold structure. The surgery proceeded with methodical precision, each step carefully executed according to the protocol refined through previous patients in the trial. On monitors around the operating room, Lily's vital signs remained stable, the rhythmic beeping, a reassuring soundtrack to the delicate work. After nearly 4 hours, Dr. Bennett began the closing procedures, his team working with the same careful attention they had maintained throughout the operation. The scaffold was in place. The surrounding tissues showed no signs of trauma or inflammation, and all preliminary indicators suggested successful implantation. And now we wait, Dr. Volker said as the surgical team completed their work. The scaffold will remain inactive for 7 days to allow for initial healing and integration. Then comes the moment of truth, initial activation and calibration. As the observers began to disperse, Catherine remained at the window, watching as Lily was prepared for transfer to the recovery room. James stood beside her, a steadying presence in what had been an emotionally draining morning. "She's going to be all right," he assured her, echoing his brother's earlier words. Catherine nodded. "I know. It's just seeing her like this, so small on that operating table. But so mighty in every other way," James added with a smile. "Our Lily is a force of nature." Maxwell approached them, his expression serious but hopeful. "Bennett says everything went perfectly. Textbook placement, minimal manipulation of the surrounding tissues, the best possible scenario." "Thank you," Catherine said simply, "for all of this. The research, the specialists, everything." Maxwell shook his head slightly. "No thanks necessary. This is redemption, I suppose. Though no amount of money or medical advancement can fully atone for the cruelty I showed her." "Lily doesn't see it that way," James pointed out. "She never has. From the beginning, she saw beyond your behavior to what you could become." "Children often see more clearly than adults," Maxwell acknowledged. "They haven't learned to accept the world's limitations or their own." The recovery period following the scaffold implantation proved more challenging than the stem cell procedure. Lily experienced more significant discomfort, requiring pain management and careful monitoring. Yet even during difficult moments, her determination never wavered. "Dr. Bennett says the scaffold is settling in perfectly," she told Catherine 3 days post-surgery, her voice tired but optimistic. "And Lucas visited. He said the activation doesn't hurt at all. It just feels weird at first, like tiny bubbles under your skin." Catherine smiled, adjusting Lily's pillows. "That's good to know. You just focus on healing for now." "Has Mr. Richardson gone back to Boston?" Lily asked. "Not yet," Catherine replied. "He wants to stay for the activation. James, too." Lily nodded thoughtfully. "They care a lot about this project." "They care about you," Catherine corrected gently. "The project is important, yes, but you're the reason they're here." Across the Institute, in a conference room converted to temporary office space, Maxwell Richardson was engaged in an intense discussion with Dr. Bennett and several research scientists. Spreadsheets, medical imaging, and technical diagrams covered the large display screens as they reviewed preliminary data from the first cohort of patients. "The results are promising," Dr. Bennett was saying, "but scaling the treatment remains a significant challenge. The current production method for the scaffolds is labor-intensive and expensive." "What would it take to streamline production?" Maxwell asked, his business acumen shifting to this new purpose. "Could automation help?" One of the scientists, Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, nodded. "Potentially. We've been exploring robotic fabrication techniques that could increase production while maintaining precision. The limitation isn't technological so much as financial." "Draw up a proposal," Maxwell said decisively. "If automated production would make this treatment more widely available, that's where we need to focus next." James, who had been quietly observing, smiled slightly at this exchange. His brother's ruthless business efficiency, once directed toward profit maximization, was now being applied to solving healthcare accessibility challenges. The transformation was remarkable. "What about the activation process?" James inquired. "Could that be simplified to make the treatment viable in settings with fewer specialized resources?" Dr. Bennett considered the question. "That's an excellent point. Currently, the calibration requires sophisticated neuromonitoring equipment and expertise. If we could develop a more standardized activation protocol." The discussion continued well into the evening, with Maxwell taking notes and occasionally asking incisive questions that reflected his growing knowledge of neuroscience and medical technology. 3 years earlier, he couldn't have imagined himself in this role, directing his considerable intellect and resources toward healing rather than wealth accumulation. 7 days after the scaffold implantation, the moment of truth arrived. Lily was transported to a specialized neuromodulation suite for the initial activation of the bioelectronic device. Catherine walked alongside the gurney, holding Lily's hand and projecting calm confidence despite her own anxiety. The activation suite was filled with advanced monitoring equipment, with Dr. Weber and a team of specialists prepared to carefully calibrate the scaffold's electrical parameters. Lily was positioned on a comfortable treatment bed, surrounded by screens displaying her neural activity in real time. "Are you ready, Lily?" Dr. Weber asked, her kind eyes meeting the child's. Lily nodded, squeezing Catherine's hand. "Ready." Dr. Weber initiated the activation sequence, and on a nearby monitor, a graphical representation of the scaffold illuminated with tiny points of blue light, indicating active stimulation points. For several minutes, the medical team adjusted parameters, carefully monitoring Lily's responses and the neural feedback data streaming to their systems. "Anything?" Dr. Bennett asked after the initial programming was complete. Lily's brow furrowed slightly in concentration. "I'm not sure, maybe a kind of warmth in my upper legs, but it might just be me imagining it." "That's actually quite common with first activation," Dr. Weber assured her. "The brain is eager to interpret signals, sometimes creating phantom sensations. We'll continue with the scheduled stimulation protocol and daily therapy sessions." Though there were no dramatic immediate effects, which was entirely expected, the medical team was pleased with the technical aspects of the activation. The scaffold was functioning as designed, establishing communication with the surrounding neural tissue and providing the gentle stimulation intended to guide and enhance the ongoing regeneration process. As Lily was wheeled back to her room, Catherine noticed Maxwell standing quietly in the hallway. He had not attended the activation, feeling his presence might add pressure to an already tense situation, but his concern was evident in his expression. "Everything went well," Catherine assured him. "No immediate sensory changes, but the device is functioning perfectly." Relief washed over Maxwell's features. "Thank you. I didn't want to intrude, but—" "You wanted to know," Catherine finished for him. "Of course you did." Lily, drowsy from the mild sedative she'd been given to help her relax during the procedure, smiled sleepily at Maxwell. "Hi, Mr. Richardson. The doctor said my scaffold is working just right." "That's wonderful news, Lily," Maxwell replied, his usually commanding voice gentle. "You've been incredibly brave through all of this." "Lucas says the good stuff happens in the second and third weeks," Lily informed him, with the simple optimism of childhood. "So we have to be patient." Maxwell nodded, a small smile touching his lips. "Patience has never been my strong suit, but I'm learning." As Catherine continued with Lily toward her room, Maxwell remained in the hallway, watching them go. 3 years ago, his interaction with a disabled child had been characterized by cruelty and dismissiveness. Now, he found himself humbled by that same child's courage and hopeful for her recovery with an intensity that surprised even him. The irony wasn't lost on him, that the little girl he had once mocked was now teaching him lessons about patience, hope, and the true meaning of strength. Perhaps, he reflected, this was the most valuable return on any investment he had ever made. "Ready?" Dr. Elise Weber asked, her finger poised above the activation control. Lily nodded from her position on the specially designed therapeutic table, her expression a mixture of nervousness and determination. Catherine stood nearby, trying to project calm confidence despite her own anxiety. It had been 7 days since the scaffold implantation surgery. Lily had recovered well, with minimal discomfort and no complications. Now came the moment they had been working toward for months, the initial activation of the bioelectronic scaffold that might help restore neural function to her damaged spinal cord. "Remember," Dr. Bennett said gently, "this is just the beginning of the process. The first activation is primarily to establish baseline parameters and ensure the device is functioning correctly." "I know," Lily replied. "You said not to expect anything dramatic right away." Dr. Weber smiled. "That's right, but we still monitor everything carefully. If you feel anything unusual, any sensation at all below your injury site, I want you to tell us immediately, no matter how small it seems." Lily gave a thumbs up, and Dr. Weber initiated the activation sequence. On a nearby monitor, a graphical representation of the scaffold lit up with tiny points of blue light, indicating active stimulation points. For several minutes, the medical team adjusted parameters, carefully monitoring Lily's responses and the neural feedback data streaming to their systems. Lily lay perfectly still, her face serious with concentration as she focused on any potential sensations. "Anything," Dr. Bennett asked, after the initial programming was complete. Lily's brow furrowed slightly. Maybe a kind of warmth in my upper legs, but it might just be me imagining it. Dr. Weber made a note. That's actually quite common with first activation. The brain is eager to interpret signals, sometimes creating phantom sensations. We'll continue with the scheduled stimulation protocol and daily therapy sessions. Oh! Over the next 3 weeks, Lily followed an intensive rehabilitation regimen, specially designed to work in concert with the neural stimulation. Each morning began with scaffold adjustment and calibration, followed by specialized physical therapy, neural response training, and careful monitoring of her progress. Lucas, whose own scaffold had been activated a day before Lily's, became her constant companion and friendly competitor in their shared journey. The two children compared notes after each session, celebrating even the smallest improvements in each other's condition. "I felt something real today," Lucas confided one afternoon as they played chess in the Institute's solarium. "When Dr. Weber touched my right foot with the ice cube, I felt cold. Just for a second, but it was definitely cold." Lily's eyes widened. "Really? That's amazing, Lucas." "Dr. Bennett said it means the neural pathways are beginning to reconnect," Lucas continued excitedly. "What about you? Any new sensations?" Lily hesitated. She had experienced what might have been fleeting sensations in her legs over the past few days, but had been cautious about reporting them, afraid of disappointment if they proved to be her imagination. "Maybe," she admitted. "Sometimes I think I feel pressure or temperature, but it's so faint that I'm not sure if it's real." "You should tell them anyway," Lucas advised, moving his knight across the chessboard. "Dr. Weber says even imagined sensations are important data points." The days at the Neurological Institute followed a structured rhythm. Morning medical evaluations, followed by specialized therapy sessions, educational activities, as neither Lily nor Lucas were exempt from schoolwork during their treatment, and social time with other young patients. The facility housed children from around the world, all participating in various innovative treatment programs for neurological conditions. Despite the clinical setting, there was a warmth to the institute that made it feel less like a hospital and more like a specialized boarding school. The staff made efforts to celebrate birthdays, holidays, and treatment milestones, creating a supportive community among patients and their families. 2 weeks after scaffold activation, Lily experienced a breakthrough during her morning evaluation session. As doctor, Weber systematically tested sensory response using various stimuli, temperature, pressure, light touch. Lily suddenly gasped. "I felt that!" she exclaimed, her eyes wide with surprise. "On my right shin, I definitely felt something touching me." Dr. Weber maintained her professional composure, though her eyes brightened with excitement. "Can you describe the sensation, Lily?" "It was like pressure," Lily said, concentrating on the memory of the feeling. "Not sharp, but definitely there, like someone pressing a finger against my skin." Dr. Weber repeated the test, applying gentle pressure to various points on Lily's leg while carefully documenting each response. The pattern that emerged was clear. Lily had regained limited but definite sensation in portions of her right leg, particularly along the outer thigh and shin. "This is excellent progress," Dr. Weber confirmed after completing the evaluation. "The sensory pathways often recover before motor function, as they're generally simpler neural circuits. We'll adjust your stimulation parameters to optimize this response pattern." When Catherine received the news, she had to step out of the room briefly to compose herself. The possibility of even partial recovery had always seemed so remote, despite the optimistic research projections. Now, holding tangible evidence of improvement, the emotional impact was overwhelming. Maxwell and James Richardson, who had returned to Boston after the scaffold implantation but remained in daily contact, immediately arranged a video call when they heard the news. "That's our girl!" James exclaimed, his face beaming on the screen. Defying expectations, as usual. Maxwell's response was more measured, but his eyes betrayed his emotion. The research team is extremely encouraged by both Lily's and Lucas's progress. They're already talking about expanding the trial to include more patients. Over the following days, Lily's sensory recovery continued to progress. The areas of sensation expanded gradually, and the quality of the sensations became more refined. She could increasingly distinguish between sharp and dull pressure, hot and cold, and even light touch in some areas. "It's like parts of my legs are waking up," she explained to Catherine one evening as they prepared for bed. "But it's not all at once. More like flickering. Sometimes I feel things clearly, and sometimes not at all in the same spot." "Dr. Weber says that's normal," Catherine assured her. "The neural pathways are re-establishing themselves gradually. It's not an all-or-nothing process." Lily nodded thoughtfully. "It's strange to suddenly feel things again in places that were just nothing for so long. Good strange, but still weird." "I can imagine," Catherine said, though in truth she could only guess at the extraordinary experience Lily was describing. By the 6th week post-activation, Lily's improvements had continued steadily. Sensory function had returned to approximately 40% of her right leg and 25% of her left, allowing her to feel pressure, temperature, and in some areas, even light touch. More remarkably, she had begun to experience occasional involuntary muscle contractions in her right thigh, the first signs that motor pathways might be regenerating as well. These motor responses were initially unpredictable and uncontrolled, a sudden twitch or brief contraction that Lily couldn't initiate or sustain voluntarily. Yet they represented a profound milestone in her recovery, evidence that the complex neural circuitry required for movement was beginning to re-establish itself. "Can I try the parallel bars today?" Lily asked during her physical therapy session, eyeing the equipment where more mobile patients practiced weight-bearing exercises. Her therapist, Sophia, considered the request. "Let's start with the assisted standing frame first. If that goes well, we can consider the parallel bars later this week." The standing frame was a specialized device that supported Lily's body weight while allowing her to experience an upright position. As Sophia helped secure her into the equipment, Lily felt the familiar anticipation that accompanied each new therapeutic challenge. "We'll start with 30% body weight support," Sophia explained, adjusting the settings. "Focus on your posture and core engagement, just like we've practiced." As the frame gradually shifted Lily into a standing position, something unexpected happened. When her right foot made contact with the floor, she felt it, really felt it, in a way that went beyond the faint sensations she'd experienced previously. "I can feel the floor," she whispered, eyes wide. "My right foot. I can feel it pressing against the ground." Sophia carefully monitored her response. "That's excellent, Lily. Now I want you to try something. Think about pressing your right foot down against the floor, as if you were trying to leave a footprint in sand." Lily concentrated intently, focusing all her mental energy on the command. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then, almost imperceptibly at first, her right foot exerted a small but definite downward pressure. Sophia's professional composure momentarily slipped as she exclaimed, "You did it! That was voluntary movement, Lily." The magnitude of the moment wasn't lost on Lily. After nearly 4 years of paralysis, she had intentionally moved a part of her body below her injury site. It was a tiny movement, barely measurable by conventional standards, but its implications were enormous. News of this breakthrough spread quickly through the Institute. Dr. Bennett and Dr. Weber immediately scheduled additional tests to assess the extent of the motor recovery and adjust Lily's treatment protocol accordingly. "This doesn't mean you'll be running marathons next month," Dr. Bennett cautioned during their follow-up consultation, wanting to manage expectations. "But it does suggest that the neural regeneration is progressing more successfully than we dared hope." "Could I eventually walk again?" Lily asked directly, her clear eyes meeting his. Dr. Bennett chose his words carefully. "With this level of early response, some form of assisted walking might become possible with continued treatment and extensive rehabilitation. But Lily, even if full independent walking remains elusive, the sensory recovery and partial motor function you're regaining can significantly improve your quality of life. Like better balance in my wheelchair," Lily nodded thoughtfully, "or being able to feel if something is too hot before it burns me." "Exactly," Dr. Weber confirmed, impressed as always by the child's practical outlook. "And potentially improved bladder and bowel control, which many patients with spinal injuries consider even more important than walking." The following day, during Lily's regular chess match with Lucas, she shared her exciting news. The boy's face lit up with genuine happiness for his friend. "That's fantastic," he exclaimed. "I had something similar happen yesterday. I could wiggle my toes on my left foot, just a little, but definitely moving." The two children celebrated their progress together, understanding better than anyone else what these seemingly small victories represented. Their friendship had deepened over the weeks of shared treatment, forged in the unique crucible of their parallel journeys toward recovery. "Do you think we'll ever walk normally again?" Lucas asked as they reset the chessboard for another game. Lily considered the question with her characteristic thoughtfulness. "I don't know. Maybe not exactly like before, but maybe in a different way, with braces or special devices or something." Lucas nodded. "My father says the technology is getting better all the time. By the time we're grown up, there might be options we can't even imagine now." "That's what Catherine says too," Lily agreed. "And even if we don't walk the same way as other people, we'll still do amazing things." "Definitely," Lucas affirmed with the simple conviction of childhood. "I'm going to be a doctor like Dr. Bennett and help kids like us." "And I'll keep making my foundation bigger," Lily said, moving her pawn to open the game. "So more kids can get treatments like this one." As their chess match progressed, the two children discussed their futures with the optimism and imagination that had sustained them through their respective recoveries. Neither defined themselves by their disabilities or limited their dreams to what current medical science could promise. Instead, they envisioned lives of purpose and impact, shaped by but not confined to their experiences. That evening, Catherine received a video call from Maxwell Richardson. His face appeared on the screen, looking both excited and unusually hesitant. "Catherine, I've just heard from Bennett about Lily's breakthrough," he began. It's remarkable news." "It is," Catherine agreed. "Small steps, but meaningful ones." "More than small," Maxwell countered. "The implications for the research program are significant. Bennett says this level of motor recovery at this stage exceeds even their most optimistic projections." Catherine studied him through the screen. "But that's not why you're calling, is it?" Maxwell hesitated, then shook his head. "No. I wanted to ask, would it be appropriate for me to visit? To see Lily in person and perhaps discuss the next phases of her treatment and rehabilitation?" The request surprised Catherine. While Maxwell had been deeply involved in funding and advancing the research, he had largely kept his distance from Lily personally, perhaps out of lingering discomfort about their initial encounter. "I think Lily would like that," Catherine said, after a moment's consideration. "She asks about you sometimes, about the research you're supporting and the other projects you're developing." Relief washed over Maxwell's features. "Thank you. I'll make arrangements to fly out next week, if that's convenient." "Actually," Catherine replied. "We're scheduled to return to Boston in 3 weeks. The active phase of treatment is nearly complete, and Dr. Bennett believes Lily can continue her rehabilitation program at our center in Boston, with periodic follow-ups here in Zurich." "That's even better," Maxwell said. "I'll ensure everything is prepared for her continued treatment at home." Indeed, as Catherine ended the call, she reflected on the extraordinary journey of the past several months. What had begun as an experimental medical trial had evolved into something far more profound, a story of healing that extended beyond physical recovery to touch the lives and hearts of everyone involved. Lily's progress represented hope not just for her own future mobility, but for thousands of children facing similar challenges. The research funded by Maxwell's redirected fortune and the Morgan Richardson Foundation was already being prepared for expanded trials, with potential applications far beyond the initial cohort of patients. And perhaps most remarkably, the cruel encounter that had set this entire chain of events in motion had led to one of the most unlikely and transformative partnerships in modern medical philanthropy, proving that sometimes, from the darkest moments, the most profound healing can emerge. The auditorium of the Morgan Richardson Pediatric Rehabilitation Center buzzed with anticipation as attendees found their seats. Journalists, medical professionals, foundation supporters, and families of children with mobility challenges had gathered for the center's 5th anniversary celebration and the unveiling of a groundbreaking announcement. Catherine Chen stood in the wings, reviewing her notes one final time. Beside her, James Richardson adjusted his tie nervously. "Is she ready?" he asked, glancing toward the private preparation room where Lily was waiting. Catherine nodded. "She's been practicing for weeks. Nothing would stop her from doing this today." At precisely 10 a.m., the lights dimmed, and Catherine stepped onto the stage to approach the podium. "Good morning and welcome to this special 5th anniversary celebration of the Morgan Richardson Pediatric Rehabilitation Center," she began. "What began as an unlikely partnership has blossomed into something none of us could have fully imagined 5 years ago." As Catherine detailed the center's achievements, thousands of children served, dozens of research breakthroughs, and revolutionary adaptive technologies developed. Slides displayed behind her showcased the facility's growth and impact. None of this would have been possible without the vision and determination of one extraordinary individual, Catherine continued. Someone who taught all of us that compassion is stronger than cruelty, that purpose transcends profit, and that even the smallest person can change the course of the future. She paused, emotion momentarily overtaking her usual composure. "It is my great honor to introduce the heart and soul of everything we do here, Miss Lily Morgan." The audience applauded as attention turned toward the side of the stage. There was a moment of anticipation, and then gasps rippled through the crowd as 12-year-old Lily Morgan appeared, not in her wheelchair, but walking slowly and deliberately with the assistance of advanced mobility braces and forearm crutches. Each step was careful and methodical, requiring visible concentration, but unmistakably independent. The specialized braces, developed by the Foundation's biomedical engineers, worked in concert with the neural regeneration achieved through her treatment in Switzerland. Though not completely restored, Lily's partially recovered neural function, combined with cutting-edge assistive technology, had made this moment possible. The applause crescendoed into a standing ovation as Lily made her way to center stage. Catherine moved to assist her, but Lily gave a small shake of her head. She wanted to do this herself, to show what was possible. When she finally reached the podium, specially adjusted to her height, Lily's face was flushed with effort, but radiant with accomplishment. The audience remained standing, many wiping away tears at the powerful demonstration of progress. "Thank you," Lily said when the applause finally subsided. "Please sit down. If I can stand for this, the least you can do is relax and be comfortable." The unexpected humor broke the emotional tension, causing laughter to ripple through the audience as people returned to their seats. "5 years ago," Lily began, her voice clear and confident despite her young age, "I was a 7-year-old girl in a wheelchair who just wanted to have dinner at my father's favorite restaurant. That night changed everything, not just for me, but for thousands of children like me." From his seat in the front row, Maxwell Richardson listened intently, his expression reflective. Now in his late 50s, he had aged noticeably over the past 5 years. The stress of his former life replaced by the different but meaningful challenges of his redemptive work. The Morgan Richardson Foundation began with an unlikely partnership, Lily continued. It proved that second chances aren't just for fairy tales. They're possible in real life when people choose a different path. She paused, taking a moment to adjust her position with the crutches. "Today, I'm walking with help. Some of you might see these braces and crutches and think, that's not really walking, but I see them differently. To me, they represent possibility, the possibility created when medicine, technology, and human determination work together." Lily gestured toward a group of children seated in a special section near the front. Some were in wheelchairs, others with various mobility aids, but all wore expressions of rapt attention. "Not everyone with a spinal cord injury will walk again, even with the best treatments. And that's okay," Lily stated firmly. "Mobility is just one part of independence and quality of life. That's why our foundation focuses on multiple pathways to help children with disabilities live full, meaningful lives. Whether that means walking, using a wheelchair, or something in between." Catherine watched from the side of the stage, pride threatening to overwhelm her composure. The shy 7-year-old she had taken into her care 5 years ago had grown into a poised, articulate young woman with wisdom beyond her years. "Today, I'm excited to announce the next chapter in our journey," Lily continued. The Morgan Richardson Foundation is establishing 5 new international research and treatment centers, bringing our rehabilitation protocols and neural regeneration therapy to children around the world. As Lily outlined the details of the expansion, locations in Europe, Asia, Africa, and South America, images of the planned facilities appeared on the screen behind her. "These centers will not only provide cutting-edge treatment," she explained, "but will also serve as research hubs, accelerating the development of new therapies and technologies for children with mobility challenges." In the audience, Miguel Suarez, now 15 and serving as a peer mentor for younger patients, nodded appreciatively. His own journey with the experimental treatment had enabled him to walk short distances with minimal assistance, an outcome that had once seemed impossible. Nearby sat Lucas Zimmermann and his father, who had traveled from Munich for the ceremony. Lucas, who had become Lily's closest friend during their time in Switzerland, had recovered significant function in his legs, though he still used a wheelchair for longer distances. "None of this would be possible without the generous support of our donors and partners," Lily acknowledged, "particularly Mr. Maxwell Richardson, whose funding of the initial neural regeneration research led to breakthroughs that have helped children around the world." Maxwell lowered his eyes momentarily, still uncomfortable with public recognition of his philanthropy. The journey from arrogant business tycoon to humble medical research patron had been long and sometimes painful, but ultimately transformative. "I'd like to conclude with a story," Lily said, her voice softening. "When I was 7, just after I cancelled a billion-dollar deal because someone had been cruel to me, my godmother Catherine asked if I was worried about making such a big decision. I told her, 'Daddy always said we don't do business with bullies.'" She smiled at the memory before continuing. "What I've learned since then is that sometimes former bullies become your strongest allies when given the chance to change. And sometimes, the worst moment of your life can lead to the best possible outcome for countless others. Lily carefully shifted her weight, adjusting her grip on the forearm crutches. Today, as I stand before you, literally stand, which wasn't possible 2 years ago, I'm thinking about my parents. They didn't live to see any of this, but I believe they would be proud. Not just of me, but of all of us who transformed a moment of cruelty into a legacy of compassion. The room fell completely silent, hanging on every word from the remarkable young girl who had catalyzed such profound change. 5 years ago, a family of billionaires mocked a girl in a wheelchair, Lily concluded, her voice strong and clear. They didn't know that girl would one day help their company find its soul, or that their cruelty would spark a movement that would change thousands of lives. They didn't know that sometimes the smallest person in the room can have the biggest impact on the world. As the audience rose once more in thunderous applause, Catherine moved forward to assist Lily from the podium. This time, Lily accepted the help, the physical exertion of standing and speaking for so long having taken its toll. Together, they made their way to where Maxwell and James Richardson waited at the edge of the stage. The four of them, once adversaries, now partners in an extraordinary mission, faced the audience together as the Foundation's new logo illuminated the screen behind them. A stylized image of a child reaching upward, surrounded by the words, "Lifting limitations, building possibilities." In that moment, as cameras flashed and applause continued, 12-year-old Lily Morgan stood not just as a symbol of medical progress, but as a living testament to the transformative power of compassion, the unexpected paths of redemption, and the extraordinary impact that can flow from a single act of courage. After the ceremony, a reception was held in the center's atrium, where Lily, now seated in her wheelchair to conserve energy, was surrounded by well-wishers and supporters. Among them was a small group of children currently undergoing treatment at the center, eagerly sharing their progress with the Foundation's inspirational figurehead. "Miss Lily," said a 9-year-old girl with leg braces similar to Lily's own, "do the braces hurt when you walk?" "Not hurt exactly," Lily explained patiently. "They take some getting used to, and sometimes they rub a little. But the therapists help adjust them until they're comfortable." "Will I be able to walk like you someday?" the child asked, hope shining in her eyes. Lily considered the question with characteristic thoughtfulness. Everyone's journey is different. Some people recover more function than others. But what I've learned is that there are many ways to move through the world with dignity and independence. The most important thing is to never stop trying new possibilities. Across the room, Maxwell Richardson observed this interaction with quiet admiration. The wisdom Lily displayed in such moments, neither offering false hope nor dampening spirits, continued to astonish him. "She's quite remarkable," said a voice beside him. Maxwell turned to find Catherine Chen had joined him. "Beyond remarkable," Maxwell agreed. "I sometimes wonder what she might have become without the accident. But then I realize that question misses the point entirely. She became exactly who she needed to be, not despite her challenges, but perhaps because of them." Catherine nodded. "William and Elizabeth would be so proud of her, not just of her accomplishments, but of who she is, her character, her compassion. And they would be grateful to you," Maxwell added. "The way you've guided and supported her through all of this." Catherine smiled. "It's been my privilege, though I suspect Lily has taught me more than I've taught her." As the reception continued, James Richardson approached with Lucas Zimmerman and his father. The two families had maintained a close connection since the treatment in Switzerland, with Lucas visiting Boston several times for follow-up care and friendship. "We've been discussing the Munich Center," James explained, referring to one of the 5 new international facilities announced during the ceremony. "Herr Zimmerman has offered to serve on the local advisory board." An excellent choice, Maxwell approved. Someone with both personal connection to the mission and business acumen. Lucas, now 12 like Lily, had grown taller over the past 2 years. His mobility had improved significantly, though, like Lily, he still required assistive devices for walking. The friendship between the two children had deepened despite the distance separating them, sustained through video calls and the occasional visit. "Lily wants to show me the new VR rehabilitation system," Lucas told the adults. "Is it okay if we go check it out?" With permission granted, the two friends made their way toward the technology wing, Lucas in his lightweight wheelchair, and Lily walking slowly beside him with her braces and crutches. Their easy camaraderie was evident in their animated conversation and occasional bursts of laughter. "5 years ago, I would never have imagined this outcome," James remarked, watching the children depart. "When Max called me that night, ranting about a little girl in a wheelchair who'd cancelled our biggest deal of the year." "Oh, life takes unexpected turns," Catherine agreed, "sometimes for the better, even when it doesn't seem possible in the moment." As the afternoon progressed, the significance of the day's events settled over all who had witnessed them. What had begun with a cruel encounter in an elegant restaurant had culminated in a global initiative that would change lives for generations to come, proving that sometimes the most powerful response to mockery isn't revenge, but vision, not retribution, but transformation, not cancellation, but creation. And as Lily demonstrated the new virtual reality system to her friend, her movements more fluid and confident than would have seemed possible just years earlier, she embodied the promise that had become the Foundation's guiding principle. That limitations need not define us, that compassion can triumph over cruelty, and that with vision and determination, even the smallest person can lift others toward previously unimagined possibilities. In the words that had concluded her speech, words that would be quoted in medical journals, business schools, and inspirational contexts for years to come, Lily Morgan had distilled a profound truth. Sometimes, the smallest person in the room can have the biggest impact on the world, and in her case, that impact was just beginning.